You have been told many lies of Middle-earth.
Hey guys, we are back with another episode recap and review for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Whoop, whoop.
I am here with the leader of TeamJVS, Sam. What's up, man?
Hey, what up? What up? What up? Another episode down. Let's do this thing. I'm excited.
There's so much that has happened in this episode. There are
It is.
names that have been dropped that I will probably mispronounce, but I will do my best.
I'm gonna rely on her, you guys. So it's not gonna be on me.
At least you did good on House of the Dragon, so we'll see how we go, how it goes. So first off, I wanted to give a shout out because there are some new characters that got introduced, and there are some characters that have been on this show, and some that I think was on the show, but not quite sure because I didn't get a good look at them. But I wanted to give a shout out to the Spartacus cast that have been in this episode. We got Cynthia Addy, who plays Queen Mariel, and then we have Barca, who played the ship captain. I think that's him. Not 100% sure, but I have a feeling it was him. So shout out to him too. And then we have Simon Morels, who's been into several shows, but he played the elf Revion, I think that was his name. But unfortunately, he did. He had a good run. At least he tried to escape. So, I mean, it is what it is, but shout out to them because I loved Spartacus, and it's just always nice to see when cast members pop up. So, Sam, what did you think of this episode? Because a lot of stuff happened.
It was a lot. This is the weird thing about this show, and I'm gonna be fair and honest with you guys. It is a slow burn. They take their time in progressing every individual character. I feel like if I go from episode 1 probably until episode 10 or whatever the end of this is, if you take one specific character, it'll probably be the equivalent of one whole movie for one individual character. And I love that about this because just like Stranger Things and all the other good shows, eventually these are going to be interwoven. And I love that. Like they're taking their time with each individual character and characters around them to build out the world of Middle Earth as it is currently right now. And I love that specifically in this episode because kind of like Galadriel being in the situation she's in with this person, we had no idea who he was. You had some suspicions last episode who he could be. But that was tested because she's brought to a island that basically they used to be cool with the elves and they got a lot from the elves, but then they excommunicated the elves and wanted to be their own entity. And now they have issues with the elves, but at the same time, they have an interesting knowledge of what's going on as well. And this main person right here took her there. And I love his character. I love his kids. It's really weird because he seems so, I don't even know how to kind of put it. He seems like a warrior, but he seems like he has a honor about him. He has a level of honor that he kind of connects with, I guess that's the best way to kind of put it, because every time that he's on screen, it's not as though he's lashing out. It's not as though he's, overly frustrated. He's really calm and collected. And anybody like that, they've got a lot of wisdom. But when it comes to his kids, that's when most people, they crack underneath the pressure. So just taking his storyline in general, or even Galadriel and what she's doing with this new person that we now know is of higher ranking and is very important. I just love that storyline because I didn't think that was going to be something that was going to pick up pace that quickly. But now that it's actually going somewhere, now he is a character. I am so intrigued by him. He had a scene where he was like kind of like a scoundrel, Han Solo-esque. he's trying to finesse his way out of certain things. He kind of calmed the queen down to let them finesse to be there for 3 days. He stole somebody's sigil to try to go and be a blacksmith. And he was like, you know, all right, cool. Like, they tried to jump him, and he was like, please don't do this. And he was like, wow, he got uppercutted, bruh. He broke them smooth down. And I loved it. I loved everything. I was like, any character like that that's got them hands, I love it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, there's so many different arcs going on, but I mean, this one was one that I kind of honed into. But the one that we're probably going to talk about the most, and I don't know how to pronounce his name. Oh my God, what's the character?
Arondir?
I think so. The elf that's been enslaved at this point.
Yes.
Because this is low-key truth, man. This dude actually, he's got the movie star quality about him. I don't know what it is. It's not just his looks. It's not just his looks. It's how he carries himself. And it's so unique that you kind of like, if the show was just off of his storyline, it would be one of the most exciting things. Like, because his arc is just ramping up. And every action scene that he's in, he is crushing it. So yeah, he was a standout for me as well in this episode.
I agree. I think both Halbrand and Arondir are both the men that you need to watch out for, and the men that, at least for the ladies, may be appealing. At least those that are straight. And I don't know why I went there, but and so we have Galadriel and Elendil. I think that's his name. I'm pretty sure that's his name. They went to like the law of the law hall. I want to say it's that.
Yeah.
But like a lot of scrolls about the history, and this is Numenor. We are introduced now to Numenor. I think that's the name of it. I want to say that's the name of it. Because there is a book called Tales of Numenor. And it's just interesting to me how they have this suspicion and just this like really disdain for the elves. Like the elves are getting hated on. And I'm just like, Morton brought the fight to them and they responded. Why are y'all hating on this species that didn't want to know about y'all? They were living their best life. And we got swept up into this war. They couldn't just be like, oh, we're just going to bow down to Morton. No.
Dude.
So it was just funny to me that Galadriel was just having this attitude. She's not helping matters. Like when she was when she was with the Queen Regent and everyone else, like she was like, I demand I get respect because I'm an elf and I've fought this war. And it's reminding me again of the fact that time has passed, centuries have passed, mind you, and so you're still in this bubble that the war is not over when it has been.
Right.
And you see that with Galadriel and how she pretty much, tries to talk to Muriel, or the Queen Regent Muriel. So it was just really interesting to me that Halbrand had to pretty much step in and calm the water, so to speak, because Galadriel probably would have been in jail.
Oh, she wanted that smoke. She wanted that smoke for real. She was ready to kill somebody that day.
But I also think it is because she was, out in sea for so long. And again, she's not understanding that everyone's not as focused as she is on her mission. Like everyone's trying to live their life now, and she's still living in the past. And I think Halbrand kind of understands that because his ancestor was the one that kind of swore allegiance, that we found out later on, swore allegiance to Morton. And so he has to live with that, or that stigma. And so when they had that conversation, I thought it was a good conversation to have. But this is where I'm a little bit concerned about this show. Yes, it's good. Sometimes the pacing for me is a little bit off. Like for me, it sometimes drag in certain places. Like we didn't need to do the whole horseback riding thing in slow-mo. like there's just little things that, yes, they're visually great, but is it necessary? Now with Halbrand, I'm concerned that his story is too much similar to Strider, especially since Strider is supposed to be the ancestor or the descendant of Isildur, who did get introduced in this episode. So it's kind of like you're doing a similar story arc to kind of like remind people about Lord of the Rings, but at the same time, does that hurt the show? And also, is it necessary to have that background? Like, is it necessary for him to redeem himself or to become a leader of the Southlands? Or could it be someone else that does it? Like, why does it have to be him? So I was just curious as to your thoughts on that, especially since we are getting similarities, which I've mentioned in the last episode, about characters that you're reminded of and just how they're trying to remind us of Lord of the Rings, but try and be its own thing as well.
Yeah, I think, and this is going to be hard. I want you, Tolkien book readers, Tolkien fans, to respectfully hear my heart when I say this. I own all of them. I've watched them in the past. I remember seeing them in the movie theaters. I've never seen any of the extended versions of any of them, and I've never read the books. When this show was announced, I knew what I was going to have to do with this. When I realized this took place in the past, I was like, I need to look at this and approach it as though it's its own thing, like as though I've never seen Lord of the Rings at all. And down to the fact that I didn't even have in my head that Galadriel was the same Galadriel from the current movies that I've seen. And so when I'm looking at this, I don't know. It definitely seems similar, but it's not peaking. It's not a make or break for me. It's not enticing me to be like, oh, I'm connecting with this. I just like his character because he's a scoundrel. He reminds me more of Han Solo than anybody else, and
Yeah.
I think that because the actor and the way they wrote him is going down this interesting path, it may not end up in the way that we think also. So I find it very fascinating. I don't think it necessarily hurts it, but if you focus and hone in on it, and if that's what you're kind of looking as a lens, that okay, this is the focal lens, that's what they're trying to put to me, then I could see where that could be a problem for other people. But for me, I don't connect the dots like that. I'm not looking at it to compare what they've done in the past or the books or even, what they could do in the future. It's more so like right now, as this story is, as it's going just linear, just on one individual character, could I look at it and progress through? And I think I really could. Any of these arcs, I could see that. I think it could be a little jarring going back and forth each one because it's a lot. Like every single episode, they're taking their time. And just like I said, it's like playing out like a movie. The beginning of the movie, it starts, it builds, and it apexes, and then it kind of concludes. And they're doing that for every single character each time. And when you siphon through certain ones, you're kind of like, you might get drawn to one and like, I don't want to, leave this one. Why are we going back here? Why are we going to these, little hobbits here? But using the hobbits as an example, versus the Galadriel and in this scoundrel's story arc, they find ways of balancing it. Because with the hobbits, this young little girl, she has this heart about what she's doing. She feels as though what she's doing is the right call, but now she's dealing with the consequences of it. Her dad is injured, and now people are looking at them to possibly excommunicate them or leave them behind, which has never been done before. And they use this episode for the emotional connection to who this man could be, whether or not he's an enemy or whether or not he's a friend. We still don't know. But it still doesn't make that arc any less interesting. It's just building on it in a different way. But I could see where some people would have issue with it, for sure. Because if that's not what you care about and you haven't connected, then it's like, why are we wasting time with this? In the
True.
moment.
And this is definitely true for the book purists. Like they're out there, they are definitely hating on this show. Not all of them, but there are several that have been hating on this show. And it seems like, at least to me, the show is trying to combine several stories into one show. So when you're adapting, it's kind of like you can't just take its own thing and just tell that story when you have different characters that you're trying to combine and have it in one cohesive story instead of just several small stories. So I'm not sure if that's the reason why there's such a disconnect. Is it because they're not following the lore? At least that's some people have been saying, but because I haven't read the back, like the Silmarillion, nor the Tales of Numenor, even though I said I will, I didn't get to do that in time before the show. So my knowledge is very like Wikipedia right now. I mean, all you have is a general sense about, we know that we're going to get the Rings of Power. We know we're going to get that part of the lore that we've been hearing about from Lord of the Rings, at least for those of us that have just seen the movies or have at least read the books, that maybe not the appendices of those books, but at least the main story. And they've mentioned the history throughout the series.
Right.
So going back to Galadriel and Muriel and Elendil, we got introduced to Isildur as well as his sister, who apparently just got, accepted into the builders. We don't know what that means. I don't know if it's a book thing. We don't know if it's a library historical thing. And then Muriel at the end of the episode was talking to someone, her dad apparently, and she was like saying, the elf is here. So apparently they had some kind of prophecy where Galadriel or some elf was going to come in and be like, yeah, we about to fight. It's about to go down. Bad times are coming. Like, this was the sign that bad times are coming. And she was like not feeling it. And in a way, I don't blame her, considering how well things have been going on in the country. They've been doing their own thing. Everyone's prospering. And now you got to worry about people dying. You got to worry about your citizens and your subjects dying. And then we have the connection between Elrond and apparently his half brother with helped found Numenor. And I was trying to understand as I was watching the episode, was that like a half brother, but was he full elf or half elf? That's because it just seems like, and then he was like in exile. So I'm like, is he still in exile? Like, I wasn't understanding that part of it, but I've only seen the episode once, so please forgive me for that. I was trying to comprehend as I was watching, like, what. It doesn't help when we don't have captions, y'all.
Yeah, so to be fair, we're watching it without subtitles, without captions, where you guys get the opportunity to do that. When we're screening these, we don't have the opportunity. But yeah, so the way that I kind of took it is I took two different things. The first episode, when we first were introduced to his character, it kind of seemed as though, not that he was looked down upon, but there's a reason why they didn't put him in a leadership role already. And we didn't really know why. Because I watched the episode a couple of different times. I was like, why are they treating him like that? And so then when we get this episode, and like you said, the half-elf, he could be banished. I thought it was that he had passed away. But that would make sense why he was treated the way he was in the first episode. And it could be that him being a half elf, and I think they said it even the second episode, that any different time when there's been an elf and a human getting together, it's always ended in destruction. It's never end well. So to have one be conceived like that, it's going to be very interesting to see how that connects to Arendir. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays into his character art moving forward, especially now that I know where he ends up. Because that's gonna be really interesting, because he ends up like a totally different harsh person. So I'm curious. I'm really curious. But that specific moment, I was thinking the same like you. I'm like, is Ninja dead? Is he banished? Is he alive? I really don't know. But I think that there's a reason why they left that nugget there, and it was just to connect to him. I think they're gonna unfold it and unpack it a little bit more later. But
sorry, that was Elrond.
That's all. Yeah. But yeah, I did want to talk about what the Queen has said, and it's weird because the captain has said that the king was kind of like, banished in his own kingdom because he's still alive, because he had no issue or ill will with the elves. And now we find out, well, wait, I don't think that's necessarily true, because she goes up to him being like, oh, the elf is here. the elf is here, and I don't know what that means. Like, is it they're scared of the prophecy, or is it that she's posing like she doesn't like the elves, but really it's more so fear of what is coming because the elves are going to need their help?
It could be both. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it was both. And that's why I was surprised, because I was like, why are you giving him the sword? Like, is he getting a promotion? He was pretty much the babysitter.
Oh, I thought he was sending her to kill that dude. For real, for real. I was like, dang.
Yeah, I thought he was going to die, like, for, ironically, bringing an elf to Numenor who hasn't been around for years, because they kind of like kicked him out. They're like, F y'all, we're just going to do our own thing. So and this is why, like, when time passes and elves remember one thing and humans remember another, like, their history kind of like changes or, evolves. It's kind of like interesting how they remember things. Because, yeah, like Galadriel, she was surprised, actually, that she wouldn't have gotten the welcome that she was thinking that she would, because things have changed so much. And even with Muriel, it's kind of like there seem to be two factions, even though we don't know for sure if there's two factions. There just seems to be a hint of it. Yeah. One that's more sympathetic to the elves, like you were saying, and the other is kind of like antagonistic towards elves just in general. Like, they don't care about them. They don't want to do anything with them. Same thing with the Southlands. And ironically, y'all are becoming slaves right now. So some gotta give.
Oh, God. I can't wait to talk about that because I felt away. Never mind. We'll get to it.
Yeah, well, real quick, let's get back to the Hobbits. I think with Nori, it's not surprising to me that it's pretty much what I was gonna. I think I mentioned it for the second episode, that they were gonna eventually find him, or he was gonna pop up, and they were gonna have a discussion about whether it was either you or me. Someone in our group mentioned it.
Yeah,
and pretty much the prediction came true. And then, yeah, like you said, it was a threat of expulsion, or, not being able to travel with the rest of the Harfoots. And fortunately, they're able to travel with them, but they're kind of falling behind because the dad is still injured. But fortunately, they have a human that can travel a little bit faster because he's taller.
Right.
So hopefully that will work out. But I am still thinking that tragedy will strike. Like, it has to.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was when, I don't know how he ended up with the pages. I may have missed that, but when he had the pages and he was reading the pages, I don't know if you noticed that there was sparks, like all the fire rounds started to swell up. Yeah. And that's how the pages ended up catching on fire, because whatever was happening with him, it was sparking the flames. And that always happens with him, no matter what, whether it is a spark from the lightning bugs or whether it's spark from his own flame from landing. Fire is connected to him, which is so weird. And I guess that goes back to, what is your theory on who this person is? At this point, it's been 3 episodes. Who is this man?
I don't know. There's so many potential based on what I don't know about the lore, based on what could be, but could be against the lore. I mean, Gandalf and Sauron is pretty much my first 2 guesses, but it could be a completely different being that's similar to Gandalf, but not quite. Maybe like one of his ancestors or something. Because of the age that they're in, again, going back to lore from what I've glimpsed of via Wikipedia, or it just seems like Gandalf came around the 3rd age versus the 2nd. So I don't know. It could be Saruman. Like, we just don't know. Yeah. But what I feel like Gandalf was like someone that could handle fire, so that could be a clue. I have no idea. But the fact of the matter is, he's able to read, which was what we suspected. He was able to read or understand what Burroughs' book, or one of the pages at least, contained, especially since it had the constellation.
Yep.
So he comes from the stars.
Right. What was the black guy said something, and I felt like it wasn't a throwaway. He said, because when they found out he had said, I've heard of people being human and turning into stars, but I've never heard of people were stars and turning into human, or something like that, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that wasn't a throwaway line. I don't know what he meant by that.
No, and I also thought it was interesting how they were chanting, nobody goes off trail, nobody walks alone.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone was chanting that. And then you have, you know, the potential of a family traveling alone, but they decide not to do that. Just as long as they don't go off trail, even though they're falling behind at the moment, they'll maybe catch up. But I actually was getting a little teared up when they were talking about the people that, you know, passed away. And it seemed like Poppy was on her own. So she was kind of like adopted with Maury's family. So I was like, no wonder she kind of sticks up with her, even though she reluctantly does it.
Right.
So I felt for Poppy a little bit. You know, it's like when you lose like a family members or something like that, it's like it hits you right here. So I thought that was a little bit of a touching moment. And Nori did not throw Poppy under the bus. So as far as like, you know, her potentially getting banished, so I thought that was cool. So it's going to be interesting how that story progresses. Like there seems to be maybe a preview from what I've seen from the preview of the season. There may be a scene with the guy, the stranger, surrounded by the wolves or the dogs that we saw earlier in the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that may be happening in the next episode. We just don't know for sure. It's going to happen. It's going to have to happen.
So do you think it's the same dogs that are part of the other storyline that we haven't talked about yet?
It didn't look like it, but that animal was kind of feral looking, so who knows?
Right. I have no idea.
And it's interesting how last week we focused on Bronwyn and Theo, you know, killing the orc, and then we really got immersed with the orcs this time with Arondir. So that's a good segue. Let's talk about Shao.
Yeah, that joint threw me off. I'll say this. So when we get reintroduced back to him, I swore I thought it was the tree people that, you know, got him, you know, and pulled him away. I didn't think it was orcs. So when we see him, he's getting beat down, jumped, and chained up, and I was like, are those orcs? And sure enough, it's orcs everywhere. And then we get the reveal that everybody that was stationed with him is enslaved as well. I was like, yo, they've been planning this for years, not just a couple days. There's no way. There's no way.
Well, and I also think you also have to catch them unawares. So they could have been like doing one last patrol or something, and that's when they got kidnapped. It's not really explained. You just know that they're there, and it kind of sucks that his whole like contingency or I don't know what it's called, like the group of soldiers that was with him pretty much got murked.
Oh yeah.
So he's like the last surviving like elf of that company, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks because I was hoping they would last just a little bit more, just a little bit. And I don't know if any of the humans was even really trying to help, or was it just all of the elves that were with him? Because I don't recall seeing like at least a few of them. I just know about the one that got his throat got slit drinking the water, and then of course hold on, let me get his name again.
Yeah, because there was definitely a girl that I think was stationed with them.
Mm-hmm. Revian.
Yeah, I saw at least 6 of the people that were stationed with. I don't know if any humans were there, but I can tell you this: none of them humans wanted that smoke. They were like, you know what? I'm gonna keep chipping away. I'll take this tree down. It's okay.
Well, I mean, and I also think that was kind of smart for him to cut down the tree, even though it sucked. But that was his way of trying to look and see what's up there, pretty much.
Right.
And it just sucks that, you know, you feel like you were so close to escaping, and nope, that spear got my boy. I was like, dang. And you knew, even though you knew it was coming, some of this episode was kind of predictable, but still seeing it kind of like, oh man, oh dang.
Right. Yeah, it was brutal because one, I think what threw me off is I didn't expect them to get enslaved like that. Two, I didn't expect that it would be that many orcs. And even when, you know, when the one orc kind of gave him the water, I was like, you know what, that joint might be acid. And like, it wasn't. And I was like, so what's up with this? Is there, you know, some kind of poisonous insect inside? And it wasn't. And then all of a sudden, dude drinking it, he slits the man's throat. So what I liked about this art is that it was brutal. Like, there was, them folks started getting eaten alive from the chest by this dog that they just brought out. And I was like, people are getting milly-whopped out here. And so as good as he was, as strong as he is, as smart as he is, it still wasn't enough for him to protect his unit, which is crazy because the whole point of a unit is to protect everybody else. They couldn't even protect themselves. So it's going to be a situation now where he's going to be like a Ronin. He's going to need outside help. There's no way he can do this on his own, especially with whoever the leader is of this group, which we wrote it down.
Argar. Look, listen, guys. We were trying to really hear what the orcs were saying. It was really hard to understand. It kept on like
Agar. I think that's what I wrote down.
Argar, Egar. Like it was just.
I had no idea, bro. I was like, I don't know what they're saying. I need captions back now. But this is the weird thing about that. I was like, is that Sauron? Because I was like, I looked at the build and the profile, like even the gloves. Did you see his glove? Like he had one glove that I swear, that's why I took the picture right here. Yeah, let me pull the picture up. I swear it was the same exact glove as this. Like it was only on one side because the other hand was free. But one of them, it looked like there was a glove on it and looked just like this. And so I don't know, but it makes the whole Gandalf Sauron situation even more interesting because we don't know. Because it could easily be the little kid that's going to inherit all that. I don't really know.
Well, they kept on saying that Sauron comes in many forms or different names. So and we still see from the previews, the one that was wearing white and just looked like creepy and pale and Eminem. So we haven't seen him yet. So he could be Sauron, or he could be like, I feel like I remember reading something about a magician that was like right under Sauron that was like pretty much his like right hand dude, but became one of the leading race. When he got control of the ring or whatever. Please, if I'm wrong, please correct me nicely. But I just don't know. I didn't notice, to be quite frank. I was just trying to concentrate on the name, what they were trying to say. But I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he's just one of the leaders. Like we do have orc leaders. They're kind of weird, but it felt like we were slowly getting introduced to people that were higher ranked, that were just nastier as that story arc progressed. Right. But as nice as it was to see like him in there fighting, and I know shows do that, like they have like a group of people and there's like one like leader or one like super badass person, and they like kind of shine, and it's kind of like, well dang, can everyone else shine too? Like can we just have it be like a team effort? Like I just feel like I missed that. Like it just seems like there's so much emphasis on like the star that it's like, you have competent people, why do they have to die so soon? Like I don't know, it kind of bugs me. It bothered me in episode 1 too with Galadriel and the troll. Like it did. I just felt like that was that could have been a different way to show how she's a leader, but because of her focus, maybe that was the way that they were trying to do it on purpose. But the way that she posed at the end, I was like, nah, y'all could have done that at a battlefield. Y'all didn't have to do this on a simple troll. Like, no.
Hey, no, that scene, look, that was vicious. I love that scene. They ripped the freaking sword out that troll's skull. I liked it. But no, I mean, to your point, I mean, I get it. So this, I think the way that they balanced it in this episode is they tried to find ways. All of them were desperate. They were trying to break the chains by any means possible. And so they were all working together. They were trying to draw them out into the sun. That wasn't working. They didn't have the numbers. That wasn't working. Then they brought the daggone dog out. And it was like, after the dog was out, it was done. It didn't matter what they could do. And it's sad because technically the guy got up there. He got sniped. And I feel like
Houseway. Did they have like a tower or something? Or just something, or they just had a good throw. They must have just had a good throwing aim. And
no, it was 2 arrows. They had them. So somebody shot them joints. I don't know. We don't know what's at the top of where they're at. We just know it's at the south. The south. I don't know what they're called.
We're somewhere in the Southlands. We're somewhere in the Southlands.
Yeah, but the thing was, I think that the guy, when he climbed up there, he knew that he was still chained up. I think he just wanted to see. He wanted to witness it before he died, because he thought he was about to die with his people. And technically, he still lost, even though he was cool. Like, they were about to kill him. Like, he had no way of winning. The only reason why he stayed alive because they wanted to show him off. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe they were scouting for one elf to use them, because even with the water test, I feel like that was like an intentional thing. So we'll see what they do with him, because there's no real reason to not kill him. Like, if he's gonna escape, if he has a will to escape, then there's no reason to sit there and leave him alive, other than to use him for something else. So,
and then it's just a matter of what they'll use him for, and if he's able to control what they're using him for.
Right.
I again, seeing like the previews for the season, I think he does eventually catch up with Bronwyn and the other villagers that were with her. So what's that about? Is he gonna betray them because he has some form of control, or is he being controlled by the orcs in some way, shape, or form? Which is gonna make him feel guilty, which is going to just make the situation between him and Bronwyn and their love that they have for each other, obviously, just so much worse, especially since he's an elf and they hating on elves. I just don't know. And I'm saying that a lot this episode because I don't know what's going to happen. I have an idea, but that doesn't mean it's going to come true.
Right.
But yeah, this was definitely intense. Like, I was rooting for them, at least for 2 of them to make it, maybe 1, but that didn't happen.
They all got Millie Wild. The elves in this show, man. And that's one thing I do remember about the original. I was like, man, you know what? The elves be thriving. They upper class. They got all the good armor. Elves in this show, they getting the worst of treatments. But I like that, because for once I actually care about these elves. I don't just care about the elves communicating with humans. I care about the way their history is progressing and how they connect to all of this. Like, out of everything I can say about this show, from what I remember from the movies, this is the most I've actually cared about the elves. Like, Legolas is cool because he knew how to do arrows and he was cool with, your boy, but outside of that, I really didn't care for any of the elves like that. I mean, some of them had like really strong features, they great acting prowesses, but I didn't care about any of their storylines. So this was the first time in a while that I'm like, all right, elves, I got your back.
Well, I mean, they came in clutch on the 2 towers. Like, let's be for real. Like, if it wasn't,
But I didn't care about any individual character. Their presence there was important, but I didn't care about where they came from or who's there. I'm just glad y'all here.
Right. And it's funny because you saw a hint of their arrogance, at least with Legolas's dad in the Hobbit, or the Hobbit movies.
True.
They kind of like expounded that character, because the Hobbit, of course, was not that deep, and they managed to spread it out in 3 movies. That's a whole nother conversation, though. But it's just interesting how you're still seeing a little bit of the arrogance of the elves, but at the same time, they're humbled by other people because they don't care for them. So I just think that's just an interesting dynamic that they're bringing to the show. They're kind of doing the best of both worlds here. But yeah, this episode, it's kind of like you have to have faith that they know what they're doing. And I think it helps, at least for both of us, that we're not as immersed in the lore as others, because it makes us enjoy it for what it is, or try to anyway. Yes, I am comparing it or seeing the similarities to Lord of the Rings, but I'm still wanting to know how it's going to progress. Right. So Sam, what do you think? How do you think Arendelle is going to escape from all this? Like, how do you think he's going to get out of it? Like, is he going to be able to sweet talk his way out of it? Like, like Rand.
He did well. His girlfriend ain't gonna bring no humans to go help him.
No, they don't help nobody. They're just out for themselves. And it's so ironic that Follows and Morfydd, who are the orcs, are treating the humans like trash, even though the humans were like their allied people, so to speak, during the initial war. Right. So it's kind of like, oh, you're gonna treat me like trash? Because you know what humans are capable of when we get treated like trash. We're like, oh, we're petty as hell. We're like, oh, you want to treat me like this? Okay, I got something for you.
Right. I really don't know. But I know one thing, that after they killed his posse, no matter what, he's not gonna follow them willingly. No. So I'm gonna throw that out there. But as far as him getting away, I am not sure. I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. But I did have something I was gonna show you, and I don't think that this could be the character either. But do you think it could be this character?
The stranger?
Yeah.
I think that's Saruman.
Yeah.
Sauron and Saruman sound like the same person, but it isn't.
Right.
But yeah, I was thinking that maybe it could be him as well. There's also Tom Bombadil, but wasn't he like the shapeshifter though? Or was that the one that liked to talk to animals? I'm like, he doesn't really.
There was one that liked to talk to animals.
Yeah, but things die around him, so that's why I'm like confused.
Yeah, but whoever he is, I don't think he has full understanding of what he's doing either. But anywho, as far as your boy getting out, I don't know how that's gonna happen. My closing thoughts is, I actually really dug this episode. I haven't really had that many faults with the show. It's never. I mean, the score is actually beautiful. We don't really talk about it. But the score, cinematography, and I'm not just saying that because, I'm not giving them a pass because they spent X amount of money, but they had a willingness to put it in the show. I'm talking about it from a quality standpoint. It's really great. I love the actors and I love their characters, like all of them. So yeah, this is another good episode to me. Have we hit that peak episode just yet? No. But I find that what's going to happen is when there's a real battle that's about to go down. Ooh.
I think it's going to come soon. I think it's definitely going to come this season, just because based on the previews. But do I think it's going to be the very next episode? I think it's going to be the episode after that we're going to get like a really big battle.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh yeah, and speaking of the music, I could have sworn I heard remnants of the Lord of the Rings main theme.
What, when the Harfoots were walking?
I think it was either the Harfoots or even when they were going into Numenor. It was some point during this episode. Was it with the ships? I feel like there was a little. I heard it just a little bit. I was like, ooh, I heard Lord of the Rings.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I lost the picture, but I know exactly the scene you're talking about because I kind of felt like I heard the same thing. But yeah, we'll see.
Oh, what did you think of Isildur?
What, as a character?
Yeah, like him being introduced, the way they're being introduced. He's kind of young. He's kind of like trying to follow in his father's footsteps, but at the same time be his own independent person. Because he was trying to defer, trying to become a sea guard.
I haven't got enough of him just yet, but I like his relationship with his sister.
Yep, I agree.
And I think that the interesting thing is the captain, that he's his most uncomposed when it came to his kids. And anytime you see that, there's a reason for that. And I don't know if it's more so the mother, I don't know if it's more so like the arrogance. But I find it, them as a family, the three of them, I'm so invested. I'm invested to see where their characters goes because they remind me of the Starks without making comparison to Game of Thrones. Something about them reminds me of a very interesting lineage and characters and history. Like there's something about them that is very important and vital to all of this. I could be wrong, but that's the way that I feel.
Isildur is the guy that didn't throw the ring in the mountain when he was supposed to, so he wound up taking the ring when they defeated Sauron. Yep, that is the same Isildur.
I'm gonna
Oh my gosh. I didn't mean to burst your bubble, Sam, but that was kind of mentioned in the Lord of the Rings.
I'm gonna go. You got anything left? Because I gotta end this. I was legit about to put the outro in just right there.
Well, there's a mysterious brother that we haven't seen. He was mentioned. I don't know if we're gonna get introduced to him or what.
He's coming.
Okay. And why is it that we meet families at least in the realm of the Lord of the Rings, but we don't have the spouse? Like, I'm confused.
Man, because they don't want to. I was about to.
I did like widowed, or we just don't, except for Durin and was it? Oh my gosh, what is her name? Doris, the dwarf couple. Except for them, that's like the only like Disa. That's like the only couple that I've seen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and some of the hobbits. Never mind. I take that back.
Yeah, I think it's more so like just the regular humans. The regular humans, you don't really see like those good relationships with like just a father, a mother, and kids. Like it's always, oh, we don't got a dad. Oh, we don't got a mom. Oh, like it's never like just with the humans. It's always some kind of cost that's got to be paid, and one of the kids doing something stupid. But but yeah. On that note, I still enjoy this episode. A- to B+ for me. I'm excited for the next one. Yeah,
I'll do B+.
Next week, Mike should be back, so we will all three talk about it. Maybe have a little hidden guest. And Mike, we love you. It's okay. Keep on keeping on, sir.
Falling off the top of